Yes, basically, I salute you all. Thanks for listening and thank you for watching. So, basically, today we are under the sale of goods, and the topic that we are going to look at is delivery of goods. You get, and it is basically delivery of goods in a contract of sale of goods. Which rules or which law governs delivery? If a question comes in a paper, what are you supposed to portray on that paper, basically? So not on this. And basically, what you have to know about sale of goods, you must be friendly to the act. Not basically because the act, basically. So basically, we shall start with Section 34 of the Sale of Goods and Supply of Services Act that provides that the duties of a buyer, a seller, and a supplier, where basically they say that when you read clause 1, provides that it is the duty of the seller to deliver the goods in accordance with the terms of the contract of what? Of sale, which means the onus of delivery is on the seller. You get, and when you read section 1 of the Sale of Goods and Supply of Services Act, defines delivery to mean the voluntary transfer of possession from one person to another, or which includes appropriation of goods to the contract that results in property and the goods being transferred to the buyer. Basically, that's the definition of delivery. And one of the rules of delivery is that where the goods of the time, or where the goods at the time of sale are in possession of the third party, acknowledges to the buyer that he or she holds the goods on behalf of the buyer. That is portrayed under section 36 clause 3. That is a rule whereby the third party must acknowledge to the buyer that he or she holds the goods on behalf of the buyer. You get. And another thing what you have to put in mind, or what you have to bear in mind, the rules, some of them they are under section 35. You shall look at section 34, 35. These are sections that you must look on delivery. 34, 35, 36, 37, 30, 39, and 53, 40, and 53. Basically, those are the sections that you have to look at. And one of it, we have seen that parties may agree on how goods can be delivered. However, in absence of an agreement to the effect, the rules of delivery are outlined in section 36. You get 36 here, 37. First of all, delivery and payment are concurrent conditions provided under section 35, the sale of goods and supply of services. Delivery and payment are concurrent conditions. The party must deliver in a consideration of a price, which is payment. You get, so it makes them that they are concurrent what? Conditions. Secondly, whether it is the buyer to take possession of the goods or the seller to send them to the buyer is a question depending in each case of the contract, and the contract express or implied between the parties. That is section 36, subsection 1. And when you go to section 36, subsection 2, provides that unless there is an express or implied contract regarding to the place of delivery, the place of delivery is the seller's place of business. You get, the place of the unless, that word unless is crucial, but the place of delivery is the seller's place of what? Business. If the seller has one, and if not, the seller's place of residence. You get, note that in mind. It is the place of delivery where you will deliver the goods from. Section 36, subsection 2. Then subsection 3 of section 36 provides that where the contract is the sale of specific goods. Specific goods, those are goods that are ascertained. Specific goods which, to the knowledge of the parties when the contract is made, are in some other place. Then that place shall be the place of what? Delivery. Note that in mind. Then subsection 4 of section 36 provides that regarding the time of delivery, the act provides that where the contract of sale is bound to send the goods to but there is no time sending is fixed. The seller is bound to sell them within a reasonable time. Where the time is not fixed, the seller shall deliver the goods in a delivered in a reasonable time. You get. Then subsection 6 of section 36 provides that demand and tender may be treated as ineffectual unless made at a reasonable hour. And what amounts to a reasonable hour is a question of fact that depends on the circumstances. And here, what you have to bear in mind is that in most of the commercial contracts, the time of delivery is usually constructed as being of essence to the contract. For example, there's a case of Bowes, B-O-W-A-S versus Shand. Bowes versus Shand. Under this case, whereby they say that where rice which was to be shipped during the month of March and April and was in fact loaded in February, it was said that the buyer was entitled to reject. You get. So basically, note that in mind. Then when you go to subsection 7 of section 36, they say that unless otherwise agreed, the expenses of an incidental to putting the goods into the variable state shall be borne on the seller. The expenses on the seller to put the goods in the deliverable state. And where it portrays that where the seller delivers a lesser quantity of goods, then he or she contracted to sell, the buyer may reject. But if not, he can accept them and he must pay for them in a contract of sale. That is section 37, subsection 1. Where goods are less to the quantity, the buyer can reject. But when he accepts, he has to pay for them. You get. Then section 37, subsection 2, provides that where the seller delivers a larger quantity than agreed, the buyer can reject. And when he rejects, when he accepts, so he has to pay the full amount for the price. Basically, the whole amount of the goods that are delivered, he has to pay them. Then when you go to section 37, subsection 3, which provides that where the seller delivers the agreed upon goods mixed with those of different description, the buyer may accept the goods which are in accordance with the contract and reject the rest, which he or she may reject the whole. He may reject the whole, or he might accept the ones that are in line with the contract. For example, I've sent maybe beans, but you have mixed with soya. And you can accept the beans and leave the soya, or accept all, or reject all. There are options. Options are there. So basically, note that in mind. And when you go to subsection 4 of section 37, from A to B, provides that a buyer who is not a consumer of goods may not reject a lesser or large quantity than what was contracted for, if the shortfall, or as the case may be, the excess is so minor that it would be unreasonable for the buyer to do so. If actually sent me 100 kilos, then the excess is 1. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to reject. So because it is unreasonable for the buyer to do so. So note that in mind. So in the contract of sale of goods, the parties may agree that the goods shall be delivered in installment or payment of price, or both may be made in what? Installments, basically. And when you go to section 39, clause 1, provides that unless otherwise agreed, the buyer of goods is not bound to accept delivery of goods by installments. Unless otherwise, but the buyer of goods is not bound to accept delivery of goods by installments. Basically, note that in mind. For example, you have the case, the case of Behead, BEHREND, and company versus Produce Brokers Company, where it was said that where the seller delivers goods by installment instead of indivisible parcel, the buyer can either reject the whole of the goods, including those actually delivered, in which case he can recover the whole of his money. Yet, so basically note that in mind. And the delivery, we have the case of Thomas Young and Sons Limited versus Hobson and Partners. The sellers of electric engine agreed to send them to the buyer by trail. They were sent at the owner's risk and were damaged on the journey. The buyers refused to accept them on arrival. It was held that the sellers failed to make a reasonable contract of what? Carriage. And the buyers were entitled to reject, basically. Then we shall end with section 53 of the sale of goods and supply of services, which is lien after part delivery. This deals with, it is also an element and delivery, whereby the seller can decide to deliver partly of the goods and retains the rest until full payment is made. So he can retain the rest of the goods. You get, for example, if you have contracted for 100 bags of rice, but however you have made a part payment, then I'm going to first give you a half, which are the 50 bags. The rest of the bags, I'll give them to you once you complete the payment. That is under section 53, which is lien after part delivery. The part thing is retained, then the rest is what is left for you. So basically, that is delivery as a concept under the contract of sale. Those are the sections that we need to highlight for us to answer that question of what? Of delivery. So thank you for watching and thank you for listening. Thank you.